Alright, another DraftScience video presentation. So we'll start with some science. Very quickly, a thought experiment for the critics to ponder and explain. So a way to evade all of the evasions of the question. We'll take the two thought experiments regarding bowling balls and trains, and we'll combine those into a simple experiment. So you just have two carts of equal mass, and you propel them with an equal force going an equal velocity. Okay, so velocity equals velocity for the two objects. And then somewhere here, you drop on one of them double the mass. So now one of the carts will now have twice the mass as it's moving, and the other cart. And the facts are, okay, let's just say as illustrated and stated overtly in both Professor Lewin and Physics Girls video, this cart will have twice the mass, okay, and 1/2 the velocity. And this cart, okay, still has just the one mass, and it has the full one velocity. And the obvious, not obvious, but the mathematical implication is this one now, based on mv squared in terms of kinetic energy, they don't have, so this momentum remains equal is the point. So this one and this one still have the same momentum. And the kinetic energy, though, this one has twice as much kinetic energy. And the simple thing is you're just going to put them back and hit them into a spring, same spring. And the argument is they'll compress the spring exactly the same amount, reflecting this that they have the same momentum. And there'll be absolutely zero evidence of any kinetic energy, any twice as much energy. This will not be collectible, and ever. Okay, it won't be collectible. They can't collect this. And so is there any explanation? It clearly points out that there's absolutely no use for this imaginary notion that this has twice as much energy, because you can't collect it, ever. There's no mechanism that'll collect the extra energy. And so if they have a theory about some mechanism that will collect it, let me see it. Show me. Otherwise, it just proves the whole 1/2 mv squared, or 1/2 mvv, is nonsense. It was invented as nonsense. It's anti-Newtonian. There's no way to explain why it's invented. It can't possibly mean anything. Okay, so that's the experiment to explain. How much compression will the spring have? Will they compress the spring exactly the same amount, indicating they don't have uneven amounts of energy? That's the question. All right, now I'll do the explaining part. Okay, because it's too much. You see, you can't talk more than 3 minutes to these people, because they get bored, disinterested, they lose their focus. So what this thought experiment is really demonstrating, okay, what all of these experiments demonstrate, is that when you put another mass on an object, you're essentially, okay, giving it your portion of your momentum. So, and the point is, it's just like me hitting something, and if I can guarantee that something I hit goes the same direction I'm going, I really haven't changed my momentum at all. I haven't lost any. I haven't made any of that stuff called the heat or deformation or any of that other stuff, because I don't have stuff going the wrong way. I have stuff going the same direction as I'm going, and as a collected force, I have exactly the same momentum. I gave it to something else, but it's going exactly the same way I'm going. So if I push something ahead of me, and that something is rolling ahead of me, faster than me, a little bit faster than me, and that's what would happen if I banged objects into each other. This object would give its momentum to this object until this object was going a little bit faster than this object. See, this one starts going down in velocity as this one goes up in velocity. And there's a point where this one ends up going a little faster than this one. And so as long as the object is lighter. And so it's going to essentially just pave the way for me. It's going to use its momentum in the same direction I'm going. So I retained, all of my energy in a direction because it's going in the same direction. Now, if it went in some other direction, that's when I start losing my momentum in this one direction, and I start making energy or movement in some other direction, and so then you can't measure it because now it's going the wrong way. And that's what happens essentially in clay. When something's going fast, then its energy, it's sort of like a funnel or can't think of the right word for one of these things. Okay, but if you can, the faster you're going, the tighter the funnel gets in terms of how the energy is dissipated in front of you. So if you can keep all the energy going the same way you're going to be more likely to keep penetrating deeper and deeper because you're not losing any energy. Your energy is your momentum. If you can keep the momentum moving in the same direction you're moving, you'll keep going, theoretically forever. So it's like the bowling pin argument. If I put the pins in a row, okay, theoretically, and I hit the pins, and they're all very good, they all keep going straight into each other, my energy doesn't stop, theoretically. It's only when the pins are hitting something else and going off at some other angle that I can lose the energy. So the energy is just your momentum. It was the right answer when Newton invented it, and Descartes. So let's go all the way back to almost 400 years ago. It works. It answered questions quite completely, and it really didn't have any substantial flaws as an explanation of how things move in the universe. And there was absolutely no reason to change it because it wasn't broken. It didn't need to be fixed. And mv squared, the kinetic energy formula, fixes nothing. Now, the other thing I noticed that I really hate the idea of even going into, well, I should just finish up on this. So as long as you apply the extra mass, that is, as long as you have an interaction that securely creates momentum in the correct direction, you can go quite deep. And so the bowling pin example, both bowling balls, an 8-pound ball and a 16-pound ball, can end up knocking down an infinite number of pins if you arrange the pins in such a way that the pins always hit another pin, and they never hit the floor, and they never hit a wall, and they never hit some other substance that's going to take away their momentum, absorb it, create sound and all this other stuff too. So they have to be silent pins in the sense that all the energy gets in very effectively. But that's all it is about the efficiency of the mechanism you're using to collect energy. And collecting energy is just transferring energy again. And as I pointed out, devices that store energy are much more likely to be good registers of how much energy something had than devices that don't store energy. So these are all important arguments. They can't really rationally be disputed. This is the real physics. What they're talking is nonsense. And it's just a fact. And they just keep evading the overt paradox. There's no way that adding this extra weight changes anything about the energy. You've just spread it over more little dots, more little pieces of atoms. So the individual atoms are going slower, but there's a lot more of them going. So all you've done is put, again, you could just argue the mass provides the platform for the velocity. And if you make the platform bigger, the velocity will be lower than if the platform is smaller. But it's the same momentum, same energy. They will do the same work, okay, in the world. And that's a fact. So, connected to work, so I'll get to that. I'll pause and erase and such. Alright, should be back. Alright, so I've seen different derivatives, and frankly they're all different ones where they try to argue that F equals MA equals somehow this equals 1/2 mv squared, which is a nonsense. And the funny part is they're using something called the work energy theorem. Okay, something, whatever you want to call it, but it's this nonsensical something, I don't know, some kind of work thingy equals the square root of blah 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 blah. And this was invented, this work thing. See, they think they played with these two new words, work and energy, okay, in the 1800s, and they basically created this work theorem out of that is a derivative of mv squared. So 1/2 mv squared is what they used to derive the work equation. Okay, and now they're using the work equation to say, look, Newton says, it's 1/2 mv squared. When no, the work equation was invented, as a derivative of mv squared. So it's just completely circular. So they're just using an equation that was based on this wrong definition of energy and put it into a work equation that says, well, energy is this, 1/2 mv squared. And then they're saying that somehow this is derives into this equation here. Well, of course it does, but you made this equation out of this nonsense. So I saw the, it really is getting tough as you get older, Khan Academy video. And that's all he did. He pointed out right in the beginning of the video, oh, this seems a little circular. Yeah, it's insanely circular, frankly. That you end up, creating your square root, so then you can just do your, well, let's just square this and get rid of the square root, right? So they end up just squaring the velocity to get rid of the square root. And, it's an obvious contrivance. So this is not true. This does not equal this. This has to be perverted first into a perversion before you can make it into this. Now, if they use the dot product, that's another example where, they have, whatever, some sort of number, some sort of equation, and then they put a dot, and then another equation. And this equation is supposed to be just for directional purposes. You're not supposed to actually multiply the two equations. One of them's just tracking a direction. The other one's tracking the real quantity. And then in their derivative, they just conveniently go through the whole process of these two tracking. They're both tracking. This is tracking the energy. This one's tracking the direction. And then in the end, they actually multiply the energy times the direction. And that's obviously ends up with a square. That ends up multiplying velocity twice, because the velocity that's a direction is ended up multiplied against the velocity that's a quantity. So another contrivance. So mathematically, they're cheating just as much in the math as they're cheating in the visual thing, where you argue that, physics girl says the 10-ton train, okay, going 5 miles an hour has overtly less energy. And that she explains it by saying it lost half of its energy. But how could it have lost half of its energy when it still has its energy, in the sense that if she actually did bang them into springs, the 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour and the 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour, they're going to compress the spring the same amount. If I put little generators on their wheels, they're going to light just as many light bulbs. So there's no evidence for this theory physically, in the physical world. And it can't be, there's no theoretical reasoning that can make it sensible. All right, that's enough on that. Yeah, that's enough. Where else was I going to go? Okay, I'll go there and then I'll come back. All right, I did post another anonymous question on Quora. Well, my first anonymous question, frankly. I've attempted to answer a few questions. And unfortunately, I can't respond to comments anonymously. So if anybody knows how to do that, well, I'd appreciate it. But it appears you just can't do it. Which is, kind of pathetic if they're going to give you this ability. The other thing that's pathetic is that one of the people that answered obviously has a fake name. And he's had the account since November. And so this is all just, if people don't like you, they troll you, and then they close your account. But if you're liked, then you can be anonymous, have a name anyway, a screen name. So you're allowed to have screen names unless somebody narcs on you, and that's all this is about. It's just like YouTube. You're allowed to say shitty things as long as you say them about people who won't feel it's their obligation to censor you and cancel your free speech. So if there's people willing to cancel your free speech, you won't have it. It happens on YouTube all the time. That it's just about who has more despicable enemies. So if the really lousy, rotten, scummy people hate you, then you'll get censored. But if the nice people hate you, then you won't. Yeah. That really sucks. Unfortunately. But that's the system. So that's the systems suck. As I pointed out, humans really suck at everything. They suck at physics, it's clear. Humans can't do physics worth shit. I mean, if there were aliens, they would be laughing so hard. And they think there's entanglement. Holy shit, we sent that that spy alien, Einstein, to, goof with them a little bit, and they still didn't get it. I mean, he was making fun of them, and they, took him seriously. It's just hilarious. Anyway, all right, so if you drop 100 grams, 1 meter onto a scale, how much would it weigh? So it's a simple question. Could just ask, how much does a joule weigh? That would be the simpler way of saying it, but if you say that, then they'll really go crazy. Assuming the scale can read the momentary maximum weight produced by the momentum. Obviously, the momentum doesn't have any depth. It's not a constant force. It's just a force, a certain amount of momentum. And once you use it, you're done. You're finished pushing. Looking for real experimental evidence if anyone can provide a link. Well, you're done because of the problem that the energy will... what's the right word for it? It will be used up by the fact that there's going to be lots of reactions from the stuff you're hitting. And those reactions are going to be in the opposite direction, frankly. Anyway, so obviously saying experimental evidence would be really cool. Okay. Given the velocity of dropped weight is to be 32 feet per second squared. Now, why he doesn't just say 9.8 meters per second, I have no idea. Let's confuse things some more. Simply speaking, the scale reading would depend on the mass of the weighing pan. So, frankly, this is just a dodge and an evasion. That the weighing pan is just another object you're going to give the momentum to. So when the butter, let's say frozen butter, the stick of frozen butter hits the pan, the idea is to prevent as much deformation as possible. And to connect the two objects, so no bouncing, all of that kind of stuff. Minimize all of the stuff in any collision that screws up the transfer. But yes, the pan won't have any problem. It weighs a lot less than the butter you're throwing, so it's not an issue. And it's already essentially at equilibrium with gravity, so you're just transferring the energy to the system. Okay. The system, that is the pan and the spring, which are connected to each other. So essentially the pan is just part of the spring now. And other connected parts on the scale that would, upon contact of the dropped weight. Yes, that's of course, but it really doesn't have an effect any more than it has in other circumstances. So as long as the scale doesn't wobble, it's the usual rules for a scale. A scale has to be dependent on being able to absorb some sort of irregularities. By introducing the energy dynamic, object in motion, the equation is much more complicated. So there's, I wish there was an equation, but you can't really say it's all that complicated if you just say, well, we're going to assume a pretty linear transfer. That is, the transfer is in the same direction. So you've given the pan the same momentum in the same direction. So there's, you can take all those complications out and just say, well, we don't care if we're 5% off. Okay, then it would otherwise be if, for example, the scale, weighing pan, or plate had no mass whatsoever, which of course is impossible. So that's fine. So again, who cares? Let's take all of that crap out and just get a rough estimate. Depending on the physical size of the weighing plate, so he just keeps doing, there might also be a very small atmospheric component to the equation. So just more blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to answer the question. The actual impact reading shown would decrease as the weighing pan masses increases to infinity. So I don't even know what that possibly means. It's not increasing to infinity anywhere. So he says, hope this helps. Well, frankly, it's not even close, I don't think. I mean, if I were to drop 100 grams, 1 meter into scale, how much would it weigh? Well, you certainly didn't tell me that. And I told you, assuming the scale can read momentary maximum weight produced by the momentum. So I'm saying it's a pretty good scale, and it's pretty impervious to all this atmospheric this and that and all this other nonsense. And then I'm saying I'm looking for a real experimental evidence if anybody can provide a link. So I really don't care. If you have experimental evidence of somebody jumping 1 meter onto a scale and they already know their weight ahead of time and they videotape how much the scale deflects, that will do, because frankly then I can find out how much, I can go back to a kilogram and I can tell you, or 100 grams, and I can figure out how much 100 grams portion of that weight is. All we need is the experiment done. All we need is something of a known mass dropped 1 meter onto a scale. All right. Let's see. So that was that answer. So not too much yet. I'm happy I got answers, frankly. So answers are great. Okay. The mass of 100 grams is constant. Duh. And the weight is its mass times its gravitational forces it is exposed to. Yeah, and that's also its weight again. That's the whole point. See, they just don't get it. People make no connection between the fact that gravity is what makes weight happen. Weight is your mass in gravity. Without gravity, your mass doesn't have any weight. It doesn't weigh anything. I put a scale in space. I go far enough out where there's no gravity. I put a scale there, and there's no weight. I put the object next to the scale. No weight. It doesn't weigh anything. I have to give it motion. Gravity gives us motion. The motion is what you're weighing. You're detecting the gravitational force pushing it. All right? And so all the other pushes are the same thing. They're just momentum. You're just reading how much is it moving. That's it. You're measuring its momentum with a scale. You're just measuring your momentum in gravity. When you're in gravity, that's how much momentum you have going down. The trick is this gravity's pushing you, the earth is pushing you back up, and you don't have another scale to measure that. Anyway, exposed to. The answer would depend on the gravitational references you are in. So why would somebody assume I wasn't talking about on Earth? Did I really have to say I live on Earth and I like the answer on Earth? Oh, God. If you did this on the moon, you'd get a different result than in Denver, Colorado. Gee. And again, different at sea level. Oh, the difference between Colorado and sea level is not going to be enough for you to even notice on most scales, frankly. So that's hardly an error we're worried about. But, can you get more evasive? The question is just, no, I'm not going to answer your question, is what he should say. Why would anybody assume I was asking what's it weigh on Venus? No, I'm not asking that, which would be pretty close, frankly. All right, so then this guy, this old fart says, 47 years experience in most aspects of software development. Piro in another week. Seems like you're trying to somebody. So this is after 47 years of being, programmers have to be really literate in the sense of programming code is like a really demanding, strict language. You can't mispronounce anything. You can't, your grammar has to be perfect. And this sentence is all over the place. This guy can't write worse shit, which just doesn't really indicate programmer. Seems like you're trying to somebody to do your homework for you. So we forgot the get in there. So it seems like, it's a simple enough question. Even if it was somebody's homework question, I don't know exactly how you do it from homework. It is I don't know if mathematically it has an answer, frankly. I mean, you can do lots of. I was trying to do that. You do the whole idea. Well, in gravity, if it's 4 times, you throw something. You throw something half as massive, it goes 4 times higher. So you can use this inverse thing, and but it really doesn't get you anywhere. I don't think. You may not be aware of this, but there is this great resource that can be used. You did research. So, whatever that means. So, another sentence incompletely written. You may not be aware of this, but there is this great resource that can be used. You did research. Yeah. Okay. It's called the internet. Yeah, this is Quora is part of the internet. I don't want to surprise you too much, but it's part of the internet. Isn't that amazing? And so again, and so he says, try using it. How exactly does the internet going to provide the amp? Go ahead, type it into Google. How much does a how much does a stick of butter weigh? Dropped 1 meter. Go ahead and ask the question, see if you can find the answer. Oh, just amazing. Well, anyway, I mean, like I said, I'm glad to get some kind of response, but whoa, stupid or what? She's really stupid. Not even close. All right, so take another pause and we'll move on to Piero made a couple of extra comments on his video, and I mean, one of them is just so, it just reveals that he really is completely invested, in the whole mystical universe. The idea of the waves and all of that horseshit. It's just so important to him. So anything that is going to put a hole in that, nice little shaman story of shape-shifting beings. Yeah. Oh, he's going to really hate that because he's a little, it's this whole, he really is one of these snowflake people with their superhero notions. He really does have some little superhero powers, and they're completely dependent on physics being right. His whole spidey sense falls all apart if I prove there's no kinetic energy. Alright, appears to be back. Yeah, so there are some new retard comments. So, what the hell? Just for the record. Gary has a mindset that does not allow for consideration of other people's intelligence or ideas. So, there's just zero evidence of this. Of what ideas I'm supposed to have appreciation for. So, what? Give me a list of all the ideas I've rejected that I rejected for no good reasoning. Please. Which ones? Jesus? I rejected Jesus for no good reason? I mean, what idea are you talking about, fuckhead? Oh, that's right. You won't provide any of that information. I will not waste time on any discussion with him. Well, we can't really have a discussion because you're incapable of being rational and reasonable and staying somewhere in the real universe because you're nuts. Okay, as he will manipulate any situation to his advantage. No, I didn't do any such thing. You're just a shit talker. Okay, and that's it. You like to talk shit, but you don't like to talk something real. Alright, he is a complete failure at real physics. Well, demonstrate it with a fact, shit for brain. Like, point out exactly where I said something completely wrong and you said something completely right. Because that never happened. Okay. And his philosophy sucks. Well, fuck you. Yours sucks worse. Ugh, one thing. I mean, jeez, I'm rubber, you're glue. I mean, what the fuck use is this shitting? You're just shitting. Okay, that's it. There's nothing to this. This isn't a meritorious argument made in some kind of way that should persuade anybody. In my opinion, blah 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 blah. Who cares? Back it up with some kind of evidence. One thing is correct about is that he has some highly motivated enemies. Well, you seem pretty motivated, shithead. This is your second comment on this rag video of Piero's, so you felt motivated to make a second comment for some dumbass reason where you provide no evidence and just attempt to throw aspersions against my character. What the fuck, retard? that wish bad things upon him. Well, this isn't a good thing upon me, is it? Are you doing a good thing upon me? No, you're just taking ragged opportunism. You're just sitting here saying, well, it's a great opportunity for me to throw some rocks because I'm in a crowd of rock throwers. You gutless coward. I mean, jeez. I just ignore him. This isn't ignoring somebody. Going out in public and taking a shit in their lawn is not ignoring them, retard dog. Okay, like he is a dog poop in someone else's lawn. So you're not even logical with this one. If the dog poop is in your neighbor's lawn, you're the one that's going to have to deal with it in the sense that it's in your face every day, right? And it smells, and it's all going to be your problem too. And again, why would a rational person think it's okay if dogs shit in my neighbor's lawn, but it's not okay if they shit in mine? That's sort of not very smart either, that you haven't even figured out that it's just as much an egregious crime against a sentient organism. Why should it matter who's getting shit on, you stupid shit? Not my problem, he says. So you have the advanced, enlightened philosophy. Not my problem. Oh, if it's happened to somebody else, not my problem. That doesn't sound enlightened to me. Laughing my ass off. You're laughing in your ass. You are inside your ass laughing. You idiot. Cheers, peace out. What the fuck does that crap mean? First this gratuitous cheers crap, whatever the fuck a cheers is, and peace out? What the fuck does that mean? What the fuck is that? Ass on your head much? So anyway, so yes, so you really don't get it that you've just taken a poop in my yard. You just pooped right in my yard, in public. You went to a public place to poop in my yard. And I'm supposed to say what to you, you fucking little shit? Well, I'll be back, fucker. Okay, I'm gonna haunt you. Okay, bad. Okay, not in a good way. Okay, it's gonna be all scary. Yeah, I'm not going to do it seriously or hard, but the fact is, yes, I would like to just forget you exist because you're just tinfoil liar bullshit. You're free energy bullshit. So, yeah, it's just all nonsense. But you're keeping me interested. I have incentive now to show you to be the idiot you are. Because you've just editorialized complete crap and then pretended I'm not doing anything wrong. Fuck you aren't. Okay. Who's the biggest idiot? Question mark. One who talks BS are those who dignify that BS with a response. So isn't this so typical of the I will fix nothing ever in the universe? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Everything, the BS is what's running the newsflash, fuckhead. BS has been running the world for 4 years. I mean, complete BS was running the world. The biggest failure at economics was President of the United States. I mean, a guy who proved he can't even do it when he has huge head starts, he still fails. And, you know, that kind of stuff. But nobody should say anything about it. Let's just all keep it a secret. Fuck you. I mean, this is such a stupid comment. Oh, God damn. People are so fucking dumb. So this comment did provoke some responses. So I think the puro idiocy is in here. Sorry, but you're wrong. Gary is right. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's also just not saying enough. You can't just say, this is my opinion, blah, 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 blah. You know, I mean, it really just isn't very useful, in my opinion, for anybody to say, Gary's right. No. They have to argue that Gary's provided evidence. Gary's done this, Gary's done that. But just say, Gary's right. Okay, if you talk about the physics part, then no, Gary is 100% wrong. And you've proven that with nothing. Absolute nothing. I'd like to point to the proof where they prove something. They prove Gary's theory's impossible. No, none of that's ever happened. Just their little delusions. Alright, and then Puro writes what I can only assume is just drunken gibberish. Gary is neither tight nor right. I mean, tight is a word for being drunk, frankly, but whatever. And you can prove it if you think otherwise. Didn't I just make that was a great physics argument, wasn't it? I mean, that was really a good one. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, fuck. All right, he could be right about God's particle, whatever that even means. What, I could be right. I have the same opinion of quarks for, his Higgs boson is ludicrous. Quarks are already ridiculous. He could be right about God's particle. I don't even know what that means. But anyway, it's not waves, just a flux of small particles. Well, you wouldn't even call a small particles fluxes, in my opinion. They're not fluxing. You don't say, hey, there's a flux of bullets coming out of the machine gun. It's not a flux of bullets. A bullet flux. Come on. Ugh, you just try to justify your mistakes by throwing rocks at Gary. There you go. It's that simple. And it goes deeper than that. Like I said, he's desperately afraid that the world isn't the magical place he's relying on it being. He's fully invested in the religion. He has a big pile of metaphysics riding on this horse shit. So, DeMille, whatever the fuck this idiot is. So, a person who don't understand the difference between momentum and kinetic energy. The only thing you can understand is one is completely contrived and invented and is nonsense, and the other one's the most brilliant observation you can have in the universe. Momentum runs the entire universe. The entire universe runs on momentum. Everything moving in the universe, all the way down to the subatomic particles, completely relies on momentum. Momentum is perfect. Momentum landed us on the moon. Momentum is the great winner, and kinetic energy is absolute, made-up, fantasy nonsense. It has zero credibility, no evidence supporting it. It's just absolute baby talk. It's not even a good religion. It is as silly as the Holy Ghost in Christianity. It has no legitimacy at all. There's absolutely no reasoning that can explain why the Holy Ghost is sitting there. There's no reasoning to even explain why it's called a fucking ghost. Okay. Between momentum and kinetic energy. So again, no one knows, how the fuck can you make there a difference? They're both overtly saying this is what energy is. What is momentum if it's not a description of energy? What the fuck could it possibly be then? What is it if it's not a description of energy? Oh, amazing. And what Newton's second law says. So another lie about Newton, that this is Newton's physics. It is not Newton's physics. It's just a disgusting lie to sit there and say Newton's physics says. Newton didn't think so. Overtly said to mv squared, fuck you. Okay, nonsense. I don't see any purpose for this at all. So don't keep lying about Newton's physics. This is not a derivative of F equals ma. It's a derivative of the work function, which is a derivative of kinetic energy. All right, this person can say anything about Higgs boson. Well, no, he can't. Well, I don't know. I can say plenty about the fact that all these accelerator experiments don't have anything. Again, this is the lost in math, okay, kind of idea. Whatever Hassenfesser wrote a whole book about the fact that physics is way up its mathematical ass. And it's lost all sense that there has to be something real here. You can't just keep calling every little error in your mathematical formulas a new particle. I don't see every video that he makes, but in the videos about kinetic energy, everything he said is just a lie. So there's just zero evidence of any fucking lie. So what would be the lie? Physics girl didn't say, we 100% transferred the momentum, but we spilled it all over the place too. Yeah, even the video of Walter Lewin that he shows, he lied about it. How did I lie about the video? What part of the video did I lie about? I mean, another preposterously stupid statement. Did I lie when Professor Lewin said You can fuck around with kinetic energy, but you can't screw with momentum. Nature doesn't let you do that. So I don't need to see his video for the Higgs boson. I didn't make a video for the Higgs boson. I don't know why the guy actually mentioned that, but whatever. He will lie about it as he does for everything else. So again, what kind of credibility can these shit talkers have? I mean, just these outrageous accusations, no fucking evidence. I mean, why does the internet let these pedophiles on the internet? There should be a law against these pedophiles being able to talk this shit. The only thing that he has in his videos is just unverified lies. So it's just it's just an unverified lie by you. Completely unverified lie you just perpetrated. So these are the people saying there's somebody violating the rules, and they just violate the rules, you know, in their rule violation statements. It's like an anonymous account, no doubt, flagged my account on Quora. You know, account that was using a fake name flagged my account for using a fake name. I mean, this is just such a stupid world we live in. All right, so Piro. I don't think he could. Particles. So here, I don't think he could. Particles can be explained with waves. So he's got it exactly backwards. I mean, you really can't explain a laser beam with waves. It just doesn't work. It's not going everywhere. I mean, Feynman, this the funny part is Feynman's way up Feynman's ass. I mean, Piro's way up Feynman's ass. And Feynman overtly said it, you know, twice. You know, where it was pretty clear that I wish they didn't teach this wave crap. Amazing. But not the other way around. No, it's exactly the opposite. It's just so funny. I mean, obviously particles can duplicate waves really easily. They're doing it right now in the ocean. It's particles behaving as a wave, okay? It's real atoms behaving like a wave. And you can have a wave of bullets, and you can have waves of all kinds of things. But you can't have a wave be an elemental particle. There's no way a wave can form in a straight line. It's not possible. All right. It's just amazing. He's got the exact opposite. I mean, he's really is looking at the universe upside down. He really is looking at it completely back-assward. If waves seem like woo, no, they seem like they have their place. That is, they're a description of group behavior. They're not a description of elemental behavior. No elemental thing waves. Just sits there in the universe. Look, it's an elemental thing. I'm waving. No, you're not. Shit. Just too stupid. Get yourself a body of water and realize they're just physics like everything. So again, he's talking about it's just physics, and he doesn't know the physics of water. He doesn't know that water is really water molecules. And that the water molecules don't pop or do any kind of silly stuff, that all they can really do is stick to each other and be dragged by each other. And that's what they're doing, and that's why they're creating a wave. All right, and in fact, at most fundamental level. So again, he thinks there's an ocean at the most fundamental level, so he's clearly an etherist. He's not a physicist in any way. Okay, be specific about my mistakes. That's really cool. So he raised a daughter who's dead at 16. Now he's saying she was just having fun. That's not how he told me the story years ago. So it wasn't about her having fun. It was an overdose, a mega overdose of methadone. All right, not a drug that you can easily overdose on. I mean, it's not like heroin. I mean, it's a derivative, okay? But, you know. So anyway, okay, the story's changed. So she was just having fun, and she was so insanely ignorant that she took a preposterous overdose, even though her sister was like a professional drug user. Okay, sure. I mean, yeah, it's plausible. The whole point is his daughter died of an overdose and he still couldn't even figure out that maybe I'm not going to celebrate being a drinker. Maybe I'll understand that maybe my own behavior, resorting to drug use, was kind of a hypocrisy. I mean, I couldn't tell my kids, hey, drugs be bad. No, because I think they're cool. And so maybe that would be one of your big giant mistakes, moron. Gary and I are in a rock fight, I guess. Yeah, and you threw the first rocks. You threw them and threw them and threw them and threw them. I gave you years of leniency in the fact that, yeah, I find what you're saying insanely rude, and you just kept doing it. And finally I said, well, you went there. You went one step too personal and too close. So fuck you. Yeah, I'm picking up rocks. You want me to surrender? LOL. No. No, I don't. I prefer you not surrender, because in the end I will, bury you. Okay, Screwsjeff says, I'm going to bury you on the ash heap of fuckhead. And that's where you deserve to be. A shit-talking, retarded, dumbass, lazy-minded, liberal jerk. Okay, who ruined. You're the demonstration of what's going to ruin the Democratic Party and throw it into uselessness. You've ruined politics because you're going to force people to vote for things they really, really hate because you've become so despisably stupid. Anyway. So the anti-human guy's trying. Water waves are made from water molecules. Why not electromagnetic waves be made from small particles waving in a different concentration, propagating in space at the speed of light? The point is not to keep forcing there to be a medium. So the particles can go from point A to point B all on their own. They don't need a medium to get there. They don't have to get into taxis and drive. Okay, they don't have to do that. They don't have to be teleported. You're the type of guy who likes to generate lots of pain and suffering around. Oh, so he's explaining Piro's failures. Suffering around, and when someone tells you that you're not doing life the right way, yeah, as a reckless drunk, then you throw rocks at them, like 99% of the people do, and you don't like to accept the fact that you're wrong. If you can prove that you're right, then there is one guy in the USA that can give you $1 million. I'm not sure what that guy is, but yeah, I'll go get it. So then Piro responds, water waves are made by energy traveling through the water. Magical energy waves. Anyway, yeah, more replies, please. Wrong, I create calm and joy. Yeah, whatever. The funny thing is Piro's recorrected this story. I mean, Das Spook, another nutty character that Piro's supposed to be some sort of friend of, has no clue. So this is how much, Piro talks like, oh, he has all these internet friends. They're not his friends in any sense that they don't have any clue who Piro is or the facts of his life or any of that shit. I mean, Das Spook thinks both his daughters committed suicide. I mean, it's hilarious how, somehow, where did he get that impression? So he's had conversation with Piro, and somehow Piro so inarticulately described the circumstance. It's even this thing, he says he applied to Khan Academy. He applied to Khan Academy as a programmer. He didn't apply to Khan Academy as somebody who does the drawings and the explaining. I mean, hilarious. Everyone was supposed to know he applied as a programmer. Just so funny. Programming what? What is there to program? There's nothing to the presentation is a frickin' graphics tablet. I mean, there's no programming necessary. Anyway, whatever. Too silly. You give people false hope and fake illusions. Better to be realistic and not fake. Okay, and then he recites some more crap to him. No, because water waves equals mechanical energy applied to molecules. Yes, and the mechanical energy Piro's saying is wooey little waves. Woo, 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 woo. Not momentum. Electromagnetic waves equals quantum energy applied. The smallest particle in the universe could be quanta are bits of energy. Well, certainly Pirro has no evidence supporting any idea of waves. So it's clearly not any kind of, oh yes, we've done all the research and we found all the evidence. All right, so this is all very redundant, I think. Where's the one where Pirro does answer? So here, this must be it. No, this is his old answer. If a person uses the same effort through a 8-pound ball, does the 8-pound ball have twice as many? No. The effort is the same and it goes into the balls, and they will have the same kinetic energy. So he's saying they have the same kinetic energies, which is ludicrous. Okay. There was another comment. Pirro made... Oh, I guess he might have deleted it. Damn it. Well, anyway. It did have Goofy in it. I mean, it was Goofy. Alright, so that's... I don't think there's anything else. Let me just check to be sure. Blah, 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 blah. All this crap goes down. Oh, mindless marbles. You understand, he cannot claim conservation of momentum always holds, and at the same time say momentum can be converted into heat or potential energy. Why the fuck not? Of course, that's where it eventually goes. What happens? It's conserved when the bowling ball hits a pin. I mean, I did a video on this. When a bowling ball hits a pin, what's it doing? It's conserving the momentum. The momentum that goes into the pin. Right? Now, as I just pointed out, if the pin keeps going in the same direction as the bowling ball, nothing's changed. The momentum has been conserved, essentially, in the sense that the force is still going the right way. It's when this force starts going in these ways that it starts converting into something else. You've lost it in this direction and you've gained it in some other direction. And that's when you eventually lose it all to heat. So if I did put pin after pin after pin after pin, and I hit it with momentum, you do understand that you're going to lose a little bit to heat with each interaction. Each time it hits, there's some heat. Okay, you can't help it. You're going to create some heat. And then the atmosphere is going to heat up as the pins are moving, right? And then if you have anything other than that, you know, to apply friction, then of course you're going to lose it to that. You know, gravity even. If you were going up, you'd lose it all to gravity. Well, what's gravity? Well, it's force against force. So it's essentially heat. So what a stupid thing to say. I mean, it's just so stupid. And it's so illustrated in the physics girl video. I mean, you know, because she's implying that, well, physics knows it all ends up as thermal activity. You know, when you break the momentum into little pieces, that's all you can call it, is heat. It's still momentum, but it's not momentum in a direction anymore. It's momentum in all kinds of directions. So all you're doing is changing the direction of the energy. The energy is always conserved. All you're doing is saying, I have a laser beam and I scatter it. Well, the laser beam's still conserved. The photons are still conserved. But clearly by scattering it, you've lost the whole energy in a direction thing. Duh. I mean, man, you people are so fucking dumb. Alright. Let's see. So let's see what this Amos said. Why would I need to be thrown with twice as much energy if it has the same momentum? Your explanation is still not getting to the core of the issue, but seeing how DS has apparently blocked me, even though I was arguing on his side, he can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, well, whatever. Same to you. I didn't block you for no reason, if I did block you. I don't know, did I? Let's go find out. Doesn't have any content. And how old is the channel? April 2nd. That's why you were blocked. You have to have a real channel. Okay, this whole idea of I'm just going to invent a channel to start talking shit, forget it. So you're obviously not blocked, idiot. See, it says block user right there. I have the ability to block you. You're not blocked. So, fuck you for making another false accusation. Your comment might have been destroyed by YouTube because, yeah, they get the idea there's trolls on the internet. But I don't know. Can't say for sure. Let's see. All right, so that's just useless. Okay, that is a bit of a straw man. He's referring to kinetic energy formulas portrayed in the Physics Girl video and elsewhere, where in an elastic collision it loses a lot of energy to deformation, etc. But yet the momentum stays the same. Yes, how can you deform something, use your energy to change its shape, and then claim, I still have the energy going in the right direction? I just sent it in the wrong direction. I still have it all going in the right direction. That would be insanely stupid, and it just can't be right. It can't ever be true. It will never be shown to be true. You can't do that. You can't pour 100% of the paint into a bucket and then say, I spilled half of it. You can't do that and be rational. You have to be insane to think you can do that. That's an insane proposition. If you went to the alien Congress with your I pour all of the paint into the bucket and yet I spilled half of it theory, they will laugh really, really hard. I mean, LOL squared. He's saying that in order to have lost energy in the collision, you have to also reduce momentum as well. Yes, you have to use your momentum to create momentum. You can't give something momentum without losing your momentum. Fuck. Okay. I will try to explain it. I will just take Newton's second law. Okay, so here we are again. And I will pervert it into the kinetic energy work function. Okay, and will not use any equations off energy. So let's say that I have a body of mass m and would apply a constant force F. So it's not a constant force, you fucking idiot! I mean, how many times does it have to be explained to you that the trains aren't moving because they have an engine pushing them? The bowling ball isn't continually moving. You're not sitting behind the bowling ball continually pushing it. For fuck's sake. So F equals dp. Also, let's say that initially the body was stationary. So again, duh. Oh, who couldn't figure that out? So F equals TV, whatever. If I do a second integration, and let's say that my body initially was... So he says he's not going to do some kind of bullshit math, and this is just all bullshit math. So, divided by m. Let's see if he puts a dot product in here somewhere. But the t is equal to t, p, so he's put momentum in and divided by force. So we have time equals the momentum divided by the force. Ugh, whatever. All right, now you have two bodies, as they said. Okay, I'll read this later and see if there's anything to it. But there's not, this is just, let's see, I don't see a dot product yet. But here he's squared momentum. So now he has squared momentum. You know, for some dopey reason, no doubt. But anyway, so there's no explanation of this. Is Newton's second law. Newton's second law was for the specific circumstance of when a constant force is being applied, how do you calculate the total force? It has nothing to do with collisions. All right. How is it that a straw man, if momentum is lost to heat, then momentum is not conserved because it's fucking lost to heat? So again, this idiot, mindless marbles, doesn't understand that as long as the momentum is in the same direction, it's conserved. And as soon as it goes in some other direction, it's no longer in the same direction. Therefore, it can't be called conserved. Okay, but we know in the universe itself, the energy is still moving. The energy didn't get destroyed. So there's no destruction. So it's in the use of the word conserved. You're too stupid to understand the difference between transfer and conservation. The idea is, if to transfer the energy, I can't transfer the energy and then claim I use the energy to push things in some other direction. You can't do that. Why is it so hard for people to understand? Yeah. If momentum is lost to heat, then momentum is not conserved because it's fucking lost to heat. Yeah, duh. So how can you make heat and deformation and then claim 100% of the momentum went to the train? That's what Physics Girl said, dumbass. He doesn't even understand any of this basic physics. So this goes on, doesn't it? He's saying that in order to have lost energy in the collision, you have to also reduce momentum as well. Yes, you have to reduce your momentum. If you give it to something, you lose it. Momentum is a transfer of force. You can't still have it if you gave it to somebody else. Because the object is going to slow down. So that doesn't make any sense. Oh, by the way, thanks for explaining how Gary is advocating we abandon Newton. So where did he explain that? Contrary to Newton's third law. What the hell is he talking about now? He says that momentum can be reduced between two objects. Where did I say that? What are you talking about? So just more mindless lies. I mean, mindless liar is all that mindless marbles has become. Just a mindless liar. Gary also wrote that F equals M times V. Yeah, force equals, you don't even need the times there, you just put MV. Yeah. Which is against the first and second laws, so Gary is against all of Newton's laws. So in no way is inconsistent. There's no rule that Newton wouldn't have said force equals MV. And they wouldn't have said energy equals force. Because it's all the same stuff. You're just transferring it from one place to another place. Energy is what you call when you're doing transfers. Right? And force is what you call it when it's, you know, the spring is compressed, or when it's in some other form, you call it force, but it's exactly the same thing. It's momentum waiting to be released. Yep, Gary doesn't worship Newton. He only pretends to. So again, they think that Newton didn't believe that MV equaled energy. And that energy, if he had the word, he would have said that equals force. So they don't think that Newton would have exactly said that. Even though there's no indication that it was all inconsistent with everything Newton did, the basis of it was that the quality of motion was all you were tracing through the universe, was that force or that energy. So they're just such despicable liars, because they know that's all Newton did. Okay, yep, Gary doesn't worship Newton, he only pretends to. So that's a lie. I don't worship anybody, frankly. I'm just saying that the fact is Newton's mechanics works, and there's absolutely no flaw in it that needs to be fixed. There really isn't any flaw in it. Even the precession of Mercury is such a tiny, tiny flaw, in the sense that all you have to do is say, well, Newton couldn't understand that the center of the sun's gravity was rotating. The precession of the sun's center of gravity is all you need to explain why Mercury has a screwed up orbit. Why would he need to be thrown with twice the energy? Why would it need to be thrown with twice the energy if it has the same momentum? Because momentum is not energy. So that's what Pirro says. Oh, good, this is the Pirro thing. Okay. Why would it need to be thrown with twice the energy if it has the same momentum? Because momentum is not energy. So that's what Pirro's saying. So what the fuck is momentum then? Benergy? Genergy? Synergy? Memory? What the fuck is it? What value does it have if it's not a description of energy? I mean, I don't understand how you people even know what the word momentum. How do you even conceptualize it? What have you turned it into? What the fuck can momentum be if it's not energy? It takes more energy to get a small mass object to the same momentum as the larger one. So can you believe this horseshit? He's actually saying that you have to use more energy to throw a lighter ball, twice as fast. It takes more energy, when clearly it doesn't. But anyway, the spring stores energy, not momentum. So it's exactly the opposite of the truth, and he has no evidence of his theory working. Zero. Can't provide a single experimental result that verifies this crap he made up. Alright, it just seems like you're making assertions. You say it requires twice as much energy to get a 5-pound object up to 10 miles an hour as opposed to a 10-pound object 5 miles an hour, even though the momentum is the same. So again, the physics girl would disagree with Pirro. So let's just understand, when Pirro's talking his shit, it isn't conventional shit. It's his own shit. Okay, but I've yet to see a clear explanation for why that would be, or any experimental evidence for it. I guess this is never going to end. It's going to end because, like I said, the truth does win over time. I mean, over time, it has to happen. It'll eventually happen where they'll have some sort of reclamation You'll go from the Dark Ages to the Enlightenment or some kind of a vice versa. And you'll figure this shit out. But it's going to happen. Eventually, human beings, if they have any future, they're going to have to accept that, wow, we really fucked up. And the biggest fuck up was in their attitude. Let's understand that it wasn't the physics that was hard to see. It wasn't that the facts were so messy that they couldn't be revealed. It was that their attitude was so shitty. They insulted science because they became just liars for propagandists. They didn't care about the truth. They just cared about being right. And that's all that's being displayed here, is a clear acceptance that none of these people can accept. They believed for not very good reasons. They don't want to accept. They jumped on the bandwagon of asshole. And they've been a big asshole advocate. They don't want to accept responsibility for their stupidity. All right, if you go to the kinetic energy calculator, so that's just a waste of time, obviously. I mean, it's just, because obviously every calculation is a pile of shit. And enter 10 pounds for the mass and 5 miles an hour, you get 11 joules. But if you enter 5 pounds and a mass of 10 miles an hour, you get 22 joules. Why is momentum conserved, but the smaller object has double the energy? I really am willing to learn. Well, they're not going to teach you. So obviously they answered this other question where they answered this question, essentially. So that one was written before, and they've already answered it with absolute babble. All right. So then he accuses Pirro of not answering the train question. Yeah, he didn't answer any of the questions, frankly. Let's see. Because he's wrong. He's not even saying anything. So that's hilarious, right? Okay. Obviously, a dime can have more kinetic energy than a bowling ball if the bowling ball is hardly moving and the dime is fast enough. So that's just too vague for reality, right? We've given you the perfect momentum. They're the same. The 1,000-mile-an-hour dime has exactly the same momentum, okay, as the 1 mile an hour, 2 kilograms. They have the same momentum. That's an established fact. You have to explain how one has 1,000 times more energy. Okay, and I did answer it insofar as I showed how to calculate the velocity change of something. So just absolute nonsense. Gary is wrong. Mainstream science does not say there is free energy at all. Yes, it does. The kinetic energy formula is a free energy formula. Clearly, if I shoot dimes out of my spaceship, I get 2,000 joules of energy. If I shoot soda bottles with the same energy, I get 10 joules. Obviously, that's free energy. Obviously. You just shoot dimes and you win. You shoot soda bottles, you lose. Okay. I mean, you use 10 joules of energy to shoot this. I mean, that's just the fact of it. You use 10 joules to shoot the soda bottle, 10 joules to shoot the dime. And the fact is, the soda bottle gives you nothing back. You get 10 joules. You get what you put in. And the dime somehow miraculously gives you 1,000 times more energy. You've increased your energy in the universe by 1,000 times. That's the direct duplicitous paradox they're defending. Gary's wrong. Mainstream science does not say there is free energy at all. Quite the opposite. Conservation of energy is a mainstay of modern mainstream science. No, it isn't. The mainstay still is. They have to say it. Like Physics Girl and like Professor Lewin, conservation of momentum. That's the one you can't fuck with. And not considered possible to violate. Obviously, it's possible because you're doing it. Okay, you can't do it in the physical universe, but theoretically, you can break the physics to pieces and make this nonsense reasonable. Just as the whole standard model is a big contrived house of card pile of shit. Okay, that's all his confusion and nothing more. No, it's clearly your confusion, and the facts are you have no evidence, which makes you lousy scientists. It doesn't matter heavy versus light. In fact, everything just has its math. I mean, isn't that just such a joke? Heavy or light is relative. So he doesn't even think mass is absolute in the universe. Something, how many atoms something's made of, isn't an absolute fact. I mean, where are you going with this nonsense, Piro? I mean, you can fool some of the people some of the time. Okay, so you fooled some people and they think that somehow motion is just relative and there's no absolute motion. But you really think you're going to convince somebody there's no such thing as absolute mass? Yeah, fuck you. Too silly. You can figure out what will happen to the spaceship if you give particular masses and energies. Yeah, we did that, calculating their velocity and their momentum. It's a simple question. If it's 2,000 joules of energy going this way, doesn't the spaceship have to go 2,000 joules worth that way? And where did you demonstrate it did that? Where did you show that that's good NASA-style physics? Oh, yeah, that's right, you didn't. You can see then what happens in the case with the momentum and the energy transfer. So again, he didn't show anything, didn't draw anything, didn't do anything. So he didn't even know the thought experiment was supposed to be done in space. Gary is just waving hands about numbers and not doing math with them. I'm requesting some math. I did math the other day. I just pointed out what the conversion factor is. So if you want to convert momentum into joules, you just multiply by 2.3, right? Something like that, the number was. So anyway, alright, so enough. Sorry, I didn't mean to get on that crap. My mistake. But yeah, that comment was worth it. Because it just shows the evasion. There's a clear paradox. Okay, you use the same energy, shot two different things out. They have the same momentum. Radically different kinetic energies. So what happens to the spaceship? Does the spaceship know they have different kinetic energies and move? Or does it keep going straight? I mean, he didn't explain any of it. Didn't even come close to providing any explanation for the clear paradox, the clear problem that there is no compatibility between momentum and kinetic energy. They are overtly contradictory statements about a physical fact of the universe, and one of them is clearly completely unevidenced, and one of them has been reliable for 350 years. That's the fact. All right. So this has been another Draft Science video presentation and such.